If you don't know me, my name is Sherman Harper. Eldon Harper is my father. Friday was his birthday. My dad was 77 years old. My father was a great moral person. If you knew my father, which everyone here does, or you wouldn't be here, you knew he was a great moral person. I'm 50 years old. I never saw my father smoke. I never saw my father drink. I never heard my father cuss. But as my brothers grew older, my dad got this close. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter because what my dad wanted to say, my mom said in Spanish, so we didn't understand it anyway. We didn't understand, but we kind of knew what it was. And speaking of my beautiful mother, Maria, my father truly, dearly loved my mother. They were married 57 years, so that is a testament right there. And you really, truly have to love someone to make a 16-hour trip in a station wagon loaded with kids to El Paso, Texas, time and time again. I remember those trips. And another thing about my father, of course, being married to a Mexican woman, my father taught himself to speak Spanish. It was put EL in the front of everything and an O in the end of it. And he really thought he spoke Spanish. It's just like when we would get to El Paso, they would ask him how it was, and he would say, the old tripo was very ghetto in the old caro. And he thought he was speaking Spanish, but he did that a lot, and we all remember that. My father loved singing and playing his guitar. He sang and played in several churches. He just loved to play the guitar, loved to sing, and he also had a great, beautiful voice. My father also loved to auctioneer, and he was a great auctioneer and a great salesman. And before he built his own auction in 1978, he sent me to 2 auction schools, even though my father was an auctioneer. But it didn't matter, because after that, when he got his auction built and I was auctioneering, he was still my best teacher. I would be just like this, auctioneering, and he would always come up beside me. And he would speak softly, and he would say, Sherman, slow down a little bit, you're going too fast. Or he would say, Sherman, speak louder. Or Sherman, watch this side over here, you're missing some people. So he was always my best teacher. And he always encouraged me to practice. He said, as you're driving down the road, he said, practice. He said, always practice. And again, that is another testament. Because here I stand, after auctioneering thousands of auctions for 31 years, I'm still doing it. And, I got the opportunity to spend a lot of time early on with my father. I was born between 2 sisters, so they gave me a lot of time with my father. Also got me in a lot of trouble, but that's okay. But we had the opportunity to attend and sell lots and lots of auctions together. And my dad, he always had something to say. And I remember one time I was thinking about this the other day, that one of his friends told him that there was going to be an estate auction in Arkansas, about a 2.5-hour drive. And he said, you want to go? And I said, yeah, let's go. So we took off, drove 2.5 hours up there. Everything in the auction was going too high. My dad ended up buying 1 maple lamp table. So he goes, you ready to go? And I said, I'm ready. So I went and paid for the lamp table, put it in the truck. We were driving 2.5 hours to get home with 1 maple lamp table on the truck, and it was just quiet. And I remember I said, hey, Dad, that was a joke, wasn't it? And he did that little laugh he always did, where he'd go, huh? He said, no, what was a joke was me giving $20 for that $6 table. But that's how he was. My dad knew how to talk to people. knew how to work with people. He spent 14 years on Catoosa City Council and as vice mayor of Catoosa. And he only got on there so he could help people and improve Catoosa. That was his main objective. I don't think he really liked the politics, but he loved helping people. I have so many memories of my father, as do all my 9 brothers and sisters, his 32 grandchildren, 18 great-grandchildren, or great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren. And my father loved them all, every one of them. And everybody has memories with my father. And you know, as we get older, sometimes we differ from our parents. I'm guilty of that, you know. You get jobs, families, you move away. I'm definitely guilty of that. And sometimes we all wish we could go back and change certain things and certain times, but you know, we all know we can. But we can all remember the great times that we got to spend. And we can always cherish those moments. But this year, I had some bad things happen to me. Started going back to church. Started going back and visiting my parents. And it was all part of God's plan. Because I am so happy I got the opportunity to spend the last 3 weeks of my father's life with him. When he was in the hospital, I was there every day. I got to spend 2 nights with him. And when he came home, I got to spend a lot of time with my dad. And a lot of people don't get that opportunity. But I want to tell you one more story. This is about my dad's whip. When he got home from the hospital, my dad was sick. He was weak. And hospice was coming and taking care of him. And I was on my way to my parents' house in Glenville to pick my father up with my brother Johnny and take him to dialysis. And Johnny called me and he said, "Where are you at?" I said, "I'm halfway there." And he said, "Sherman, you don't need to come today." He said, "Dad's too weak, he's not going to go." See, he had already fought us just a few days before. And I said, "Johnny, he's going." He said, "No, you don't understand." I said, "No, you don't understand. We're going to pick him up and load him. He's going today." But when I got to my mom's house, my dad was really weak. But he was speaking, but he was really weak. So me and Johnny talked to him, and he said, "No, I'm not going to go today. I'm going to wait till Tuesday to go." So we said, "Okay." And about that time, the hospice, Brad from hospice came in. We told him what was going on. He went and talked to my father. He came back in and talked to me and Johnny. I think Ellen was there. He said, "Your dad needs to go today." He said, "He's already missed." He said, "Your father needs to go today." I said, "He won't go." And he said, "Let's all go back there and I'll talk to him." This is a story about my dad's whip. He said, "I'm going to tell your dad straight up just how it is." And I said, "Good. That's what you got to do to my dad." So he went in and he sat down beside my dad's bed. Me and Johnny were standing behind him. He said, "Eldon, can you hear me?" My dad said, "Yeah." He said, "Eldon, you've already missed dialysis once. You have to go to today." He said, "Sherman and Johnny are right here. They're going to take you. You have to go to dialysis today." And my dad just sat there. And he looked up at us and I said, "Tell it to him straight." He said, "Eldon, if you don't go to dialysis today," he said, "you may not be here Tuesday to go." I said, "Tell it to him straight." He said, "Eldon, if you don't go to dialysis today," he goes, "you're not going to be here Tuesday." And he goes, "If you are here Tuesday," he goes, "you're going to be so weak you can't go." He goes, "Eldon, you have got to go today." He goes, "Eldon, do you understand me?" And my dad turned his head like this, looked at him, and he goes, "I'll just go Tuesday." Still then. I just had to tell you that story because that was my dad right there. That was him. Once my dad made up his mind, it didn't matter. It was over. Dad, you're the greatest and strongest man I've ever known. You taught me so much. You raised me right. And I know it was time for you to go. God called you home. You're in a beautiful place now. You don't have any more pain. You have no more suffering. And Dad, I'll miss you for the rest of my life. And just one more time, I'd like to walk up to the side of your bed and say, "Dad, are you feeling okay?" And just one more time, I would give anything if you could look at me and say, "Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good today." I love you, Dad.